Resilience begins in the invisible places, where your thoughts reorganize themselves long before your actions catch up. A resilient mindset is not born from winning every battle, but from learning how to stay centered when life tries to shake your confidence. This audiobook guides you into that inner territory where strength is formed through awareness, adaptability, and quiet determination. Here, you'll discover how the mind can learn to rise without rushing, recover without breaking, and grow without needing perfect circumstances. You'll explore what happens inside you when challenges appear, how your thinking transforms under pressure, and how you can train your inner world to respond with clarity instead of fear. This journey is about developing a mindset that doesn't just survive difficulty, but evolves because of it. Welcome to the Resilient Mindset, where every experience becomes fuel for standing stronger than before. The mind begins rebuilding the moment you stop running from what hurts and start acknowledging what happened. Difficulties leave impressions inside you, shaping your beliefs and emotions, but awareness softens their hold. When you turn inward with clarity instead of avoidance, you uncover the pieces that need attention. This creates the first opening for renewal. Renewal doesn't rush, it unfolds gradually. Through this unfolding, strength quietly returns. Rebuilding starts with understanding that struggle does not define you unless you allow it to become your identity. Every experience may leave a mark, but marks are not limits. When you recognize your ability to interpret your challenges differently, the weight they carry begins to shift. Your mind learns that pain is not a permanent state, but a passage into deeper insight. Insight gives you direction. Direction supports your healing. As you move through difficulty, your mind begins to reorganize your emotional responses. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel more manageable. This is not because the challenge becomes easier, but because your capacity expands. Capacity grows through reflection, patience, and the willingness to feel without collapsing. Each moment of presence teaches your mind resilience. Resilience rebuilds your internal foundation. That foundation becomes steadier with time. Rebuilding also happens when you recognize that discomfort does not mean failure. Discomfort often signals that something inside you is being reshaped. When you stop fighting the sensation and instead let it pass through, your inner world gains new strength. This strength emerges from acceptance rather than force. Acceptance gives you the power to adapt. Adaptation becomes part of your renewed mindset. The mind heals through perspective, especially when you begin viewing difficulties as teachers rather than threats. Each challenge contains information about your patterns, fears, and strengths. When you pay attention to this information, your understanding deepens. Deep understanding guides you toward healthier choices and clearer thinking. Clarity replaces confusion. Through clarity, your mind finds its next step forward. Rebuilding requires gentleness, especially during moments when your emotions feel tangled and heavy. Instead of demanding yourself to be stronger instantly, you allow space for slow restoration. Gentleness helps your mind relax enough to reorganize your thoughts. In that softness, new possibilities take shape. Possibilities remind you that you are not trapped. With each reminder, you regain confidence in your ability to rise. A recovering mind learns to separate the event from self-worth. Hard moments do not diminish your value, they simply challenge your perception. When you reinforce the truth that your worth remains intact regardless of circumstance, your inner world regains stability. This stability reduces fear and restores balance. Balance creates emotional room for growth. Growth reshapes how you respond to the future. Rebuilding also depends on the narrative you choose after difficulty. If you view yourself as broken, the mind collapses inward. If you view yourself as evolving, the mind expands outward. Expansion invites healing, creativity, and renewed motivation. Motivation pulls you forward even before you feel fully ready. Each small forward step strengthens your belief in yourself. Belief becomes the anchor for your recovery. The mind rebuilds by releasing what it no longer needs. old expectations, self-blame, and the pressure to be unaffected. Letting go creates space for new mental structures to form. These new structures are made of acceptance, insight, and resilience. With each layer you rebuild, you become more grounded. Groundedness allows you to handle future difficulties with more calmness and clarity. Calmness becomes a signal of inner growth. Rebuilding is not about returning to who you were before the difficulty. It is about becoming someone wiser, steadier, and more attuned to your inner strength. Challenges may change parts of you, but they also reveal capacities you didn't know you carried. As your mind integrates each experience, you rise with a deeper sense of self-trust. That trust becomes the foundation for every step ahead. From that foundation, your resilience grows. Strength is shaped most deeply in the moments when life feels heavy and uncertain. These moments push you beyond the comfort of familiar patterns and force you to access parts of yourself you rarely rely on. As you navigate pressure, your mind begins to recognize abilities that were dormant. This recognition gradually builds inner confidence. Confidence becomes a quiet force that supports your growth. Growth emerges through every challenge you face. The moments that test you reveal how adaptable you truly are. When something unexpected disrupts your plans or stability, your first instinct may be resistance. Yet, as you learn to adjust your thinking, you discover that flexibility is a form of strength. This flexibility helps you respond without losing your sense of direction. Direction becomes clearer as you move through uncertainty. Through clarity, you rise stronger. Testing moments uncover what you value most. When life presses against your limits, your priorities become sharper. You recognize what is worth fighting for and what no longer deserves your energy. This recognition helps you refine your choices with greater accuracy. Accurate choices create emotional steadiness. Steadiness becomes the foundation for long-term resilience. Resilience takes shape through accumulated understanding. Strength is formed when you stop avoiding discomfort and begin exploring what it's trying to teach you. Discomfort often highlights areas where growth is needed, even if the lesson feels unwelcome. When you lean into the experience instead of trying to escape it, your inner endurance increases. Each layer of endurance enhances your self-awareness. Awareness expands your emotional capacity. Capacity supports thoughtful action. Moments of pressure force hidden beliefs to surface. These beliefs may limit you without your awareness, shaping how you interpret challenges. When you look at them honestly, you gain the chance to replace them with more empowering truths. This shift restructures your inner world. A restructured mind reacts less from fear and more from possibility. Possibility becomes the fuel for ongoing transformation. Strength grows when you realize that struggle does not erase your progress. Even when circumstances feel overwhelming, you continue building resilience beneath the surface. Every moment of perseverance strengthens your internal foundation, even if the results are not immediate. That unseen strengthening becomes noticeable over time. As it grows, you begin trusting your own resilience. Trust becomes a steady guide in difficult moments. Testing moments teach you about your ability to remain composed under pressure. Composure is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to stay grounded while feeling everything. When you practice grounding, your reactions become more intentional and less impulsive. Intentional reactions lead to clearer outcomes. Clear outcomes reinforce your inner stability. Stability helps you face future challenges with a stronger presence. Strength develops when you stop labeling challenges as unfair and start recognizing them as opportunities for expansion. This shift in perspective allows you to extract value from experiences that once felt meaningless. Each lesson adds depth to your understanding of yourself and the world. Depth deepens your patience. Patience gives you room to think, choose, and grow. Growth becomes your natural response to difficulty. Moments that test you reveal your capacity to rebuild even when you feel fragile. Fragility is not a sign of weakness, but an indication that you are stretching beyond familiar boundaries. When you acknowledge your vulnerability without surrendering to it, resilience forms naturally. This resilience strengthens your emotional core. A strong emotional core supports your long-term evolution. Evolution becomes the quiet reward for enduring hardship. Strength is formed through every test that challenges your limits but does not break your spirit. Each experience shapes you into someone with greater clarity, deeper understanding, and a stronger sense of self. As you continue forward, you carry the lessons of every difficulty within you. These lessons become the foundation of your resilience. With each new challenge, you rise with more certainty. That certainty becomes your power. Your thinking begins to rise when you stop interpreting difficulty as a personal defeat and start recognizing it as an invitation to expand. Challenges press against the edges of your comfort, forcing your mind to reach for new ways of understanding. As your thoughts stretch, you uncover inner strength that wasn't visible before. This deepening awareness forms the foundation for growth. Growth gives your mind the ability to lift itself. That lifting becomes a quiet act of resilience. Rising thoughts come from the ability to pause before reacting to pressure. When you give your mind room to breathe, you create space for clarity to emerge. Clarity shows you options you couldn't see while overwhelmed. These new options weaken the feeling of helplessness that challenges often create. With every moment of clarity, your confidence grows. Confidence supports your ability to rise rather than collapse. Your mind learns to rise when you stop letting fear dictate your interpretations. Fear convinces you that difficulty is a threat, but growth teaches you that difficulty can also be guidance. As you separate fear from reality, your thinking becomes more stable. Stability allows you to approach problems with a grounded perspective. From that grounding, new solutions appear. These solutions reinforce the strength of your mindset. Rising thoughts form through patience with yourself. When you accept that you don't need to have everything figured out immediately, your mind relaxes enough to think creatively. Creativity opens pathways you didn't know existed. These pathways lead to insights that would have remained hidden in a stressed state. Insight expands your emotional resilience. Resilience helps you rise again each time you feel pressure. Your thinking rises when you challenge the beliefs that predict failure before effort is made. These beliefs often come from past experiences, but they don't have to define your current potential. By questioning them, you create room for new possibilities to take root. These possibilities shift your thinking from defeat to opportunity. Opportunity energizes your decisions. That energy becomes part of your inner strength. Rising happens when you allow your thoughts to be flexible instead of rigid. Rigid thinking breaks under pressure, but flexible thinking adapts and reorganizes without losing its center. Flexibility comes from openness, the willingness to consider new perspectives rather than clinging to old assumptions. Openness softens your internal resistance. Resistance fades as understanding grows. Through understanding, your mindset becomes more resilient. Your thinking learns to rise when you stop equating struggle with inadequacy. Struggle is not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of your growth in progress. When you separate identity from difficulty, your inner dialogue becomes more supportive. Supportive thinking strengthens your emotional balance. Balance gives you the courage to keep moving. With courage, rising becomes more natural. Rising thoughts develop when you embrace the idea that setbacks are temporary states, not permanent outcomes. This mindset prevents your challenges from defining your future. Instead, your thoughts begin guiding you toward what is possible next. Possibility fuels hope, and hope strengthens your endurance. Endurance keeps you steady during uncertainty. That steadiness is what allows your thinking to lift instead of break. Your mind rises when you observe your internal reactions without letting them dominate your decisions. Awareness breaks the automatic cycle that leads to spirals of negativity. As you observe, You create separation between the emotion and the story you attach to it. This separation gives you freedom to choose a healthier interpretation. Healthy interpretations build emotional strength. Strength supports your rising perspective. Your thinking rises when you understand that your mind is capable of learning from every hardship. Each experience becomes a lesson that refines your perspective and sharpens your insight. With each lesson, your thoughts grow stronger, steadier, and more aligned with resilience. Rising becomes your default response rather than breaking. And through that response, you build a mindset that can withstand anything and continue evolving. Inner stability begins forming the moment you recognize that challenges do not exist to destroy you, but to reveal the depth of your resilience. As you move through difficult experiences, you gradually notice how your mind adapts, recalibrates, and seeks grounding even when emotions feel overwhelming. This grounding becomes the first layer of stability. With each test, your inner world becomes more structured. Structure brings clarity, and clarity supports strength. Stability grows when you learn to trust your ability to handle uncertainty. Uncertainty often creates tension, but that tension teaches you how to breathe, pause, and respond with intention. As you develop these skills, your reactions become calmer and more centered. This centeredness creates a sense of emotional rootedness that external chaos cannot easily shake. Rootedness becomes part of your inner identity. Identity strengthens your resilience. Challenges reveal the areas where your foundation was once fragile. Instead of viewing fragility as failure, you begin seeing it as an opportunity to reinforce parts of yourself that need care. This reinforcement may come through reflection, patience, or a shift in perspective. As you strengthen these inner areas, your stability deepens. This depth supports long-term emotional balance. Balance shapes how you face the future. Inner stability develops when you stop expecting life to be predictable. Predictability may feel safe, but it limits your capacity to grow. When you embrace the unpredictable nature of life, you create space for flexibility. Flexibility helps you navigate change without losing your sense of self. This adaptability forms a powerful internal anchor. Anchors keep you steady even when conditions shift rapidly. Steadiness becomes your quiet strength. Challenges sharpen your awareness of your own emotional patterns. As you observe how you respond to stress, disappointment, or uncertainty, you gain insight into the beliefs that guide your reactions. This insight allows you to adjust your internal narrative. Adjustments create a more empowered mindset. An empowered mindset stays composed, even under pressure. Composition builds inner stability. Inner stability expands as you learn to meet discomfort with openness. Discomfort is often a signal of growth, though it may feel intimidating. When you approach it without resistance, you discover new levels of emotional endurance. This endurance becomes a steady foundation beneath your thoughts. A steady foundation enhances clarity. Clarity helps you stay grounded in your truth. Stability strengthens when you stop allowing external situations to dictate your worth. Challenges may disrupt your plans, but they cannot diminish your value unless you let them. When you separate identity from circumstance, your inner world becomes more resilient. This resilience acts as a protective barrier. Barriers that come from self-respect keep negativity from sinking too deeply. Self-respect nurtures long-term stability. Challenges teach you patience with yourself. Growth rarely happens quickly, and pushing yourself too harshly can create internal conflict. When you learn to move at a pace that supports healing, your mind relaxes. Relaxation reduces emotional chaos. Reduced chaos reveals your natural strength. That strength expands your inner equilibrium. Inner stability forms when you acknowledge your emotions without letting them consume you. Instead of suppressing or exaggerating your feelings, you allow them to pass through your awareness. This approach prevents emotional buildup and promotes mental clarity. Mental clarity gives you a more accurate understanding of yourself. Understanding increases emotional maturity. Maturity deepens your internal stability. Challenges cultivate humility, reminding you that progress is not always linear. Humility allows you to release perfectionism and embrace the process of learning. When you accept setbacks as part of growth, your mindset becomes more adaptable. Adaptability prevents emotional collapse during difficult times. Emotional resilience becomes a natural outcome. This resilience strengthens your core. Your stability grows when you stop depending on ideal conditions to feel grounded. Life will always bring uncertainty, but your ability to remain centered despite uncertainty is what defines inner strength. When you learn to be steady in imperfect situations, you build a form of stability that cannot easily be shaken. This steadiness supports your confidence. Confidence fuels your determination. Challenges amplify your awareness of how much you can endure. Every time you navigate something unexpected, you gather evidence of your resilience. This evidence becomes a powerful internal resource. Resources like these support your self-trust. Self-trust reinforces your stability. Stability becomes a reflection of your evolving strength. Inner stability grows deeper when you learn to create calmness intentionally. Whether through breathing, reflection, or mindful presence, you develop tools that anchor you in stressful moments. These tools prevent your mind from spiraling into fear-based thinking. Fear loses its influence as calmness strengthens. Strength allows you to make clearer decisions. Clear decisions support your internal harmony. Challenges invite you to strengthen your emotional boundaries. When you protect your mind from unnecessary negativity, you create space for stability to grow. Boundaries. Keep your inner world aligned with what nourishes you. Alignment strengthens your mental clarity. Clarity helps you see beyond temporary discomfort. Seeing beyond the moment supports steady growth. Inner stability also forms when you shift your focus from what you cannot control to what you can influence. This shift reduces frustration and increases your sense of agency. Agency empowers you to navigate challenges with confidence rather than helplessness. Confidence becomes a stabilizing force. This force reshapes how you respond to adversity. Response becomes choice instead of reaction. Stability deepens through acceptance. Accepting reality does not mean surrendering to it. It means recognizing what is true so you can respond wisely. Acceptance dissolves resistance, and dissolved resistance allows energy to flow towards solutions. Solutions become clearer when your mind is not fighting the situation. Clarity becomes a reliable guide. Guided actions strengthen your inner foundation. Challenges often reveal your capacity for emotional depth. As you learn to sit with your experiences rather than escape them, you develop a stronger connection to yourself. This connection nourishes your sense of stability. Nourishment helps you recover more quickly from emotional strain. Recovery enhances your resilience. Resilience shapes a stable mindset. Inner stability is strengthened by reflection. When you look back on past challenges and recognize how far you've come, your confidence grows. This reflection reminds you that difficulty does not define you. It refines you. Refinement brings wisdom that supports future decisions. Wisdom becomes a stabilizing anchor. Anchors keep you grounded during new challenges. Stability thrives when you create meaning from your struggles. Meaning turns difficulty into direction, teaching you which areas of your life need attention and which strengths you can expand. This perspective transforms challenges into stepping stones. Stepping stones guide your growth. Growth strengthens your identity. A strong identity supports unwavering stability. Inner stability grows through the relationship you build with your challenges. Each test teaches you something essential about your strength, your patience, and your capacity to rise. As you integrate these lessons, your mind becomes steadier, calmer, and more grounded. You no longer collapse under pressure. You adjust, learn, and realign. Through this process, stability becomes your natural state, an unwavering foundation that supports every step ahead. Training your thoughts to recover with purpose begins with understanding that the mind naturally drifts toward old patterns when stressed. Instead of judging this tendency, you learn to guide your thinking back into alignment. Guidance happens gently, through awareness and steady correction. Each time you redirect your focus, you strengthen your mental discipline. Discipline becomes the foundation of purposeful recovery. From this foundation, clarity grows. Recovery gains momentum when you choose to observe your thoughts without becoming entangled in them. Observing creates a sense of inner distance, allowing you to see what is helpful and what is harmful. This separation makes it easier to shift your thinking toward more supportive ideas. Supportive thoughts act like mental stepping stones, helping you rise steadily. Steadiness becomes a key part of your healing. Healing leads your mind forward. Purposeful recovery requires you to challenge the narratives that convince you things are worse than they are. These narratives often arise automatically, shaped by past wounds or fears. When you question them, you weaken their influence. Weakening old stories allows new truths to emerge. These truths bring balance to your internal world. Balanced thinking nurtures resilience. Your thoughts begin recovering with purpose when you intentionally choose perspectives that empower you. Empowering perspectives do not ignore difficulty, they simply refuse to surrender to it. This shift in attitude changes how you interpret setbacks. Interpretation shapes emotion. Emotion influences action. When your actions come from clarity rather than panic, your recovery strengthens. Recovery becomes smoother when you allow your thoughts to slow down instead of racing into worst-case scenarios. Slowing your thinking gives your mind time to process calmly. Calmness opens the door for wiser judgment. Judgment rooted in calmness prevents unnecessary emotional exhaustion. Emotional preservation is essential for resilience. Resilience supports purposeful renewal. Training your thoughts requires consistency, especially in moments of discomfort. Consistency teaches your mind that it can rely on your guidance, even when situations feel unstable. This builds inner trust. Trust reduces fear. Reduced fear creates space for more grounded thinking. Grounded thinking helps you move forward with intention. Intentional steps lead to meaningful progress. The mind recovers with purpose when you learn to replace self-criticism with self-direction. Criticism drains your energy, but direction focuses it. When you shift from blaming yourself to guiding yourself, your inner world becomes more organized. Organized thinking reduces confusion and strengthens your emotional stability. Stability supports long-term recovery. Recovery becomes a deliberate process, not an accidental one. Purposeful thought training involves recognizing the difference between reacting and responding. Reactions are driven by emotion, while responses are guided by awareness. When you pause long enough to choose a response, you reclaim control of your inner environment. This control reinforces your sense of capability. Capability fuels confidence. Confidence keeps you from collapsing under pressure. Recovery becomes deeper when you practice compassion toward your own mind. Compassion softens the internal tension that builds during stressful times. When your mind feels supported rather than attacked, it becomes more willing to adjust. This willingness opens the path for new perspectives to form. New perspectives help you interpret challenges with clarity. Clarity strengthens your resilience. Training your thoughts requires you to stay honest about what fuels your stress. Honesty reveals the root causes of your mental struggles. Once these causes are visible, you can guide your thinking more effectively. Effective guidance reduces the emotional noise that clouds your decision-making. With less noise, your mind feels lighter. A lighter mind recovers more quickly. Your thoughts recover with purpose when you recognize that setbacks do not erase progress. Even when you feel tired or discouraged, your mind continues learning from each challenge. This learning shapes your future responses. As these responses improve, your internal strength grows. Strength supports steady forward movement. Forward movement reinforces your belief in your resilience. Recovery becomes more intentional when you practice gratitude for even the smallest forms of progress. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is developing. This shift fuels optimism. Optimism expands your capacity to endure uncertainty. Enduring uncertainty builds emotional toughness. Toughness supports purposeful thinking. Purposeful recovery requires you to limit the influence of thoughts that exaggerate fear. These thoughts drain your inner stability and distort your perception. By gently redirecting them, you protect your mental space from unnecessary stress. Protected space allows recovery to flourish. Flourishing thought patterns enhance your emotional balance. Balanced emotions strengthen your resilience. Your mind trains itself to recover when you set boundaries around what you allow to dominate your attention. Attention is a powerful resource, and where you direct it determines how your thoughts evolve. When you choose to focus on clarity rather than chaos, your thinking becomes more intentional. Intentional thinking strengthens your ability to stay centered. Centeredness becomes your mental anchor. Recovery with purpose requires embracing silence at times. Silence gives your mind room to breathe and reorganize itself. In this quiet space, insights rise naturally. These insights help you understand what direction you need to take next. Direction fuels purposeful thought. Purposeful thought creates steady internal progress. Progress gives your mind confidence in its ability to rise again. Training your thoughts also involves recognizing when to let go. Holding on to every worry creates mental clutter that slows recovery. Letting go opens space for new ideas and new emotional experiences. This openness refreshes your mindset. A refreshed mind approaches difficulty with renewed strength. Strength fuels your ability to stay aligned with your purpose. Recovery becomes more direct when you treat your thoughts as tools instead of threats. Tools can be shaped, sharpened, and used with intention. When you view your thoughts this way, you stop fearing them and start guiding them. Guided thoughts support constructive action. Constructive action rebuilds your inner world. A rebuilt mind responds to life with stability. Your thoughts recover with purpose when you remind yourself of what you've overcome. Reflecting on your resilience gives your mind evidence of its own capability. This evidence strengthens your internal confidence. Confidence reduces hesitation. Reduced hesitation allows your thoughts to flow more clearly. Clear thinking leads to meaningful recovery. Training your thoughts requires accepting that growth takes time. Rushing the process only creates internal strain. When you move at a mindful pace, your thoughts have room to adjust and integrate. Integration forms deeper emotional stability. Stability supports long-term transformation. Transformation becomes sustainable rather than temporary. Your thoughts recover with purpose when you commit to guiding them with patience, clarity, and intention. Each moment of awareness becomes a step toward inner strength. Each step builds a mind capable of rising again and again. Through this gradual training, recovery becomes less about bouncing back and more about evolving forward. And in that evolution, your resilient mindset takes shape. Lasting strength begins with a subtle shift that often goes unnoticed at first. A shift in how you relate to your thoughts and emotions. Instead of reacting automatically, you start observing your inner world with calm awareness. This gentle shift changes the way you interpret difficulty. Interpretation shapes your resilience. Resilience becomes the soil where strength grows. Growth takes place quietly but steadily. This quiet shift deepens as you stop expecting yourself to be unaffected by challenges. You recognize that feeling discomfort does not make you weak, it makes you human. When you accept your humanity without judgment, your internal pressure lessens. Pressure dissolves enough for clarity to rise. Clarity helps you respond wisely. Wise responses strengthen your emotional foundation. Strength expands when you allow yourself to be honest about what is difficult. Honesty gives your mind a clear starting point, free from denial or avoidance. This clarity removes the confusion that often accompanies struggle. With confusion lifted, you see what needs attention. Attention becomes purposeful. Purpose supports the creation of lasting strength. A quiet shift happens when you learn to separate your identity from your struggle. Challenges may disrupt your life, but they do not define who you are. When you internalize this truth, your emotional stability increases. Stability prevents temporary pain from becoming permanent belief. This perspective creates a sturdy inner core. A sturdy core supports lasting strength. Strength grows deeper when you release the need to control everything around you. Control often brings tension, while acceptance brings peace. When you stop resisting what you cannot change, your mental space becomes lighter. Lightness allows your resilience to expand naturally. Expanded resilience gives you space to navigate stress. Stress becomes more manageable through thoughtful awareness. The quiet shift becomes stronger when you develop patience with your internal process. Change does not happen instantly, and forcing it only creates more friction. Patience allows your mind to settle into its natural rhythm. This rhythm guides you forward steadily. Steady movement reinforces emotional stability. Stability supports the growth of inner strength. Strength is cultivated when you learn to reinterpret your internal challenges with compassion. Rather than criticizing yourself for struggling, you begin offering understanding. Compassion softens the harsh edges of your thoughts. Softness creates room for healing. Healing strengthens your emotional balance. Balance becomes a source of lasting resilience. A quiet mental shift occurs when you choose awareness over fear. Fear narrows your perspective and distorts your thinking, while awareness expands your understanding. With expanded understanding, you see possibilities that fear once hid. These possibilities unlock new ways of responding to difficulty. New responses empower your mind. Empowerment contributes to lasting strength. Strength grows when you practice stillness. Stillness allows your mind to slow down long enough to process emotions that have been ignored or buried. As these emotions surface, you learn to navigate them with care instead of resistance. Care creates emotional freedom. Freedom lightens your internal load. A lighter mind moves with greater resilience. A quiet shift takes place when you stop searching for perfection and start focusing on progress. Perfection demands unrealistic standards, while progress values consistent effort. When you choose progress, your expectations become more grounded. Grounded expectations reduce emotional overwhelm. Reduced overwhelm clears space for clearer thinking. Clear thinking strengthens your mindset. Strength forms when you accept that setbacks are part of the journey and not a sign of failure. This acceptance transforms how you view challenges. Instead of fearing them, you begin learning from them. Learning expands your emotional intelligence. Increased intelligence supports wiser decisions. Wiser decisions reinforce lasting inner resilience. The quiet shift also involves recognizing that your thoughts are not absolute truths. They are interpretations shaped by your history, your fears, and your hopes. When you learn to question and refine them, your inner clarity improves. Improved clarity strengthens your sense of direction. Direction helps you stay aligned with your growth. Growth enhances your emotional durability. Strength deepens when you build a healthy relationship with uncertainty. Instead of viewing uncertainty as a threat, you learn to see it as a natural part of life. This shift reduces anxiety and increases adaptability. Adaptability helps you respond calmly to unexpected situations. Calm responses build confidence. Confidence reinforces long-term resilience. A quiet shift emerges when you stop comparing your journey to others. Comparison distorts your self-perception and drains your emotional energy. When you stay focused on your own growth, your mind becomes more peaceful. Peace supports your internal balance. Balance strengthens your emotional grounding. Grounding contributes to lasting strength. Strength grows each time you choose reflection over reaction. Reflection allows you to understand why you feel a certain way and what triggers your responses. This understanding empowers you to make intentional adjustments. Intentional adjustments create healthier mental patterns. Healthy patterns form a stable inner environment. Stability makes your resilience consistent. The quiet shift becomes powerful when you let yourself grow at your own pace. Rushing yourself only intensifies self-doubt. When you honor your natural timing, your progress feels more authentic. Authentic growth strengthens your sense of identity. A strong identity anchors you during difficulty. Anchored thoughts build lasting strength. Strength is nurtured when you create space for rest. Rest is not a sign of giving up, but a way of preserving your energy. When your mind has time to recover, it becomes more capable of handling stress. This renewed capacity improves your emotional flexibility. Flexibility helps you face challenges with greater steadiness. Steadiness reinforces your resilience. A quiet shift unfolds when you begin trusting your ability to rise from adversity. Trust builds through evidence, moments when you endured, adapted, or learned something new. As you gather this evidence, your self-belief strengthens. Strong self-belief shapes your emotional responses. Supportive responses foster resilience. Resilience becomes the core of lasting strength. Strength becomes more solid when you learn to ground yourself in the present, rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. The present gives you the clarity and stability needed to make sound choices. Sound choices improve your internal confidence. Confidence keeps your thoughts aligned with purpose. Purpose strengthens your inner foundation. Lasting strength is born from a quiet shift that transforms how you see yourself, your challenges, and your capacity to grow. As this shift settles into your mind, you realize that resilience is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, intentional, and deeply rooted in self-awareness. Through this shift, your inner world becomes stronger with each experience. Your strength becomes something you carry effortlessly, shaping every step of your journey. Power begins to take shape each time you endure a situation that feels heavier than your current strength. Pressure reveals what your mind is capable of learning. Even when you doubt your ability to rise, as you move through difficult moments, your inner capacity stretches. This stretch opens new levels of resilience. Resilience strengthens your inner foundation. A stronger foundation becomes the birthplace of authentic power. The pressures you survive teach you how to remain present when your emotions want to scatter. Instead of collapsing into overwhelm, you slowly learn to anchor your breathing and focus. This anchoring helps you see the situation with clearer awareness. Clear awareness diminishes panic. With panic reduced, your inner strength becomes more available. That availability turns pressure into possibility. Power grows when you realize that surviving something does not just prove your endurance, it reshapes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who can walk through uncertainty without losing direction. This understanding shifts your inner dialogue from doubt to self-respect. Self-respect builds emotional stability. Stability supports the development of deeper strength. Strength becomes a part of who you are. Pressure teaches you how to balance vulnerability with resilience. Instead of shutting down your emotions, you learn to feel them without letting them control your choices. This balance gives you a more grounded presence. Groundedness prevents you from spiraling into fear-driven thinking. Fear loses its influence as awareness expands. Awareness strengthens your inner power. The power you build comes from the realizations you gather while navigating adversity. Each challenge reveals patterns you didn't recognize before. Patterns of avoidance, fear, courage, or resilience. Seeing these patterns allows you to adjust your mindset. Adjustments shift your internal responses. Shifted responses help you act with intention rather than impulse. Intention fuels the growth of inner strength. Surviving pressure teaches you how to breathe through discomfort instead of resisting it. Resistance intensifies the tension in your mind, but acceptance softens it. As you soften, your emotional endurance increases. Increased endurance allows you to move through stress without feeling consumed. This movement develops quiet confidence. Quiet confidence becomes a stable form of power. Power grows when you stop expecting life to unfold without friction. Friction is part of growth, revealing the areas where your resilience needs reinforcement. When you embrace this truth, you no longer see challenges as punishments, but as shaping tools. These tools refine your inner structure. Refined structure supports emotional clarity. Clarity helps you stand stronger in future pressure. The pressures you survive teach you how to release the illusion of control. You begin to understand that strength does not come from forcing outcomes, but from responding wisely to what unfolds. As control loosens its grip, your mind becomes more adaptable. Adaptability reduces frustration during hardship. Reduced frustration keeps your energy focused. Focus strengthens your resilience. Power is built through the patience you show yourself during difficult times. When you allow yourself to move slowly through emotional weight, you avoid the added strain of unrealistic expectations. This patience creates space for healing and clarity. Healing cleans your internal environment. A clear inner environment supports thoughtful decision-making. Thoughtfulness strengthens your inner power. Pressure reveals your capacity for emotional expansion. When you stay present with discomfort, your emotional boundaries stretch. This stretch increases your ability to handle complexity without shutting down. As your tolerance expands, your reactions become steadier. Steady reactions reflect a strong internal core. This core helps you remain grounded despite external turbulence. Power is developed when you learn to transform fear-based thoughts into grounded perspectives. Instead of spiraling into imagined outcomes, you redirect your focus to what you can influence. This redirection calms your nervous system. A calmer internal state allows your mind to reason more clearly. Clear reasoning creates more empowered choices. Empowered choices strengthen your inner stability. Pressure also teaches you how to rely on your inner wisdom. When situations feel chaotic, you begin listening more closely to the deeper voice inside you, the one that remains steady even when you feel uncertain. Trusting this inner guidance helps you navigate challenges more effectively. Effective navigation builds confidence. Confidence reinforces your sense of power. Surviving pressure teaches you that strength does not always look bold or loud. Sometimes it shows up quietly, in your ability to continue even when you feel unsure. Quiet persistence builds lasting power. Lasting power comes from small, steady choices that accumulate over time. These choices reinforce your identity as someone who does not give up. That identity strengthens your resilience. Power grows when you recognize that pressure often reveals strengths you overlooked. You may discover patience in moments that once made you anxious, or clarity in situations that once confused you. These discoveries reshape your self-understanding. A reshaped self-view increases emotional stability. Stability gives you the courage to move forward with determination. Determination strengthens your inner force. Pressure teaches you that not every emotional storm requires you to react. Sometimes the strongest action is choosing stillness. Stillness allows your mind to stabilize before making decisions. Stabilized, thinking brings sharper insight. Insight helps you avoid unnecessary struggle. Avoiding unnecessary struggle preserves your energy for what truly matters. Preserved energy contributes to power. You build power each time you choose resilience over self-defeat. When you refuse to let discouragement define your future, you create a powerful internal shift. This shift changes the trajectory of your thoughts. As thoughts become more supportive, your mindset becomes more stable. A stable mindset helps you approach challenges with strength. Strength grows through continued persistence. Pressure reveals your ability to rise without rushing. When you allow yourself to take measured steps instead of forcing quick solutions, your internal balance improves. Balance reduces emotional overwhelm. Reduced overwhelm opens space for deeper reflection. Reflection strengthens your understanding of yourself. This understanding becomes part of your inner power. Power grows when you acknowledge that your story is shaped not by what happens to you, but by how you respond. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to build more clarity, more strength, and more intention. This perspective shifts your emotional experience from helplessness to capability. Capability fuels resilience. Resilience deepens your inner authority. Pressure teaches you that you are stronger than your doubts. Each time you endure something difficult, you gather evidence of your capacity to survive. This evidence changes how you speak to yourself in future challenges. Your inner voice becomes more supportive, more grounded, and more confident. Supportive self-talk becomes a tool of empowerment. Empowerment strengthens your mindset. The power you build from the pressures you survive becomes woven into your identity. It shapes how you walk through the world, how you think, and how you respond to adversity. Each challenge you outgrow becomes part of your strength. This strength develops quietly, consistently, and deeply. As you continue growing, you realize that power is not something you chase. It is something you become. Staying steady begins with recognizing the weight you carry instead of pretending it isn't there. When life becomes heavy, denial only deepens the strain. Acknowledgement, however, creates a quiet opening for relief. In that opening, your mind can breathe again. This simple pause becomes the starting point for stability. Stability grows from every moment of conscious awareness. Steadiness develops when you learn to slow your internal pace, even if your external world feels chaotic. Slowing down helps you reconnect with your breath, your thoughts, and your emotional grounding. This internal calm does not remove difficulty, but changes how you move through it. Movement becomes more intentional and less frantic. Intentional steps bring clarity. Clarity supports inner steadiness. Life's heaviness teaches you the value of emotional presence. When you allow yourself to feel fully without drowning in your emotions, you cultivate resilience. Resilience acts as a stabilizing force, giving you the ability to stay centered even in uncertainty. This centering shifts pressure into something manageable. Manageable stress no longer overwhelms your inner balance. Balance strengthens your steadiness. Steadiness grows when you accept that you cannot control everything around you. The urge to control arises from fear, but letting go creates space for peace. Peace settles your mind and returns your focus to what you can influence. This focus becomes a grounding anchor during heavy moments. Anchors keep your thoughts from drifting into panic. Grounded thinking supports emotional stability. Life becomes heavy when expectations outpace your energy. Steadiness develops when you adjust those expectations with compassion rather than judgment. Compassion softens the internal tension created by self-criticism. As that tension eases, your emotional space expands. Expanded space allows you to think with greater clarity. Clear thinking strengthens your internal stability. Stability helps you remain steady through difficulty. Staying steady involves learning to separate temporary circumstances from permanent truths. Just because life feels heavy does not mean you are incapable. When you separate emotion from identity, your inner world becomes calmer. Calmness gives you the strength to face each challenge without collapsing inward. This calm presence builds resilience. Resilience shapes a steadier mindset. Steadiness develops through reflection. When you reflect on past challenges and recognize how you navigated them, you build trust in your own endurance. This trust becomes a quiet source of strength. Strength gives you the confidence to face current challenges with a grounded mindset. Groundedness reduces fear. Reduced fear helps you stay steady even when life feels overwhelming. Learning to stay steady requires embracing imperfection. Instead of expecting yourself to handle everything flawlessly, you allow space for mistakes. This acceptance reduces internal pressure. With less pressure, your thoughts become more organized. Organized thinking helps you respond to challenges with greater clarity. Clarity reinforces your sense of stability. Stability supports steady movement forward. Steadiness deepens when you stop rushing your emotional process. Heavy moments often require time to unravel, and patience becomes a key element of resilience. Patience gives your mind the space to reorganize itself without force. This gentle pace prevents emotional burnout. Prevention keeps your inner world from collapsing under stress. A preserved mind remains steady. Life's heaviness teaches you to rely on internal grounding rather than external reassurance. While support from others can help, true steadiness grows from within. This internal grounding comes from knowing that your emotions, no matter how intense, will eventually settle. This knowledge brings calm during difficult times. Calmness strengthens your emotional core. A strong core supports steadiness. Steadiness grows through silence. Silence gives your mind the chance to rest, reflect, and realign itself. When you allow yourself time to be still, you reduce mental noise that amplifies stress. Reduced noise creates clearer thinking. Clear thinking helps you navigate heavy moments with more control. Control supports emotional steadiness. Steadiness grows from consistent inner quiet. Staying steady requires letting go of thoughts that amplify heaviness. Catastrophic thinking only adds unnecessary weight to your emotional load. When you gently redirect these thoughts, you lighten your mental space. This lightness helps you see the situation more realistically. Realistic thinking reduces fear. Reduced fear increases your capacity to stay grounded. Steadiness develops when you learn to listen to your inner needs without ignoring them. When life feels overwhelming, your mind may ask for rest, clarity, or reflection. Honoring these needs reinforces self-trust. Self-trust strengthens your emotional stability. Stability allows you to handle pressure with greater ease. Ease supports your ability to stay steady. Life becomes heavy when you resist your emotions instead of exploring them. Exploring your feelings calmly reduces their intensity and gives you insight into their origin. Insight helps you respond rather than react. Responding reflects emotional maturity. Maturity strengthens your ability to stay balanced. Balance helps you remain steady through hardship. Steadiness grows as you stop fighting every challenge and start adapting to it. Adaptation does not mean surrender, but adjusting your perspective to meet reality with clarity. This shift reduces internal chaos. Reduced chaos creates emotional room for solution-oriented thinking. Solutions become easier to find. Finding solutions strengthens your inner steadiness. Staying steady means understanding that heaviness often comes in waves. Some waves pass quickly, while others linger. When you accept this natural rhythm, you stop fearing the intensity. This acceptance softens the emotional burden. Softness creates resilience. Resilience helps you stay centered, even during long periods of difficulty. Centering steadies your thoughts. Steadiness grows when you recognize that you do not need to hold all your burdens at once. Breaking emotional weight into manageable pieces reduces overwhelm. As overwhelm decreases, your mind becomes more organized. An organized mind can think more clearly and respond more effectively. Effectiveness gives you a sense of control. Control supports inner steadiness. Life's heaviness teaches you how to conserve your energy. Instead of spending your strength on unchangeable circumstances, you learn to focus on what truly matters. This focus prevents emotional exhaustion. Preservation of energy supports clearer thinking. Clear thinking helps you remain grounded. Groundedness strengthens your steadiness. Staying steady is easier when you allow yourself to rest without guilt. Rest renews your emotional and mental resources. Renewed resources help you face challenges with a calmer mind. A calm mind strengthens your resilience. Resilience keeps you steady even when life feels overwhelming. Steadiness becomes a habit rather than an effort. Learning to stay steady when life becomes heavy is about creating an inner environment that can withstand pressure without collapsing. You develop this environment through awareness, patience, and intentional grounding. As your inner strength grows, heaviness loses its ability to shake your foundation. You become someone who remains centered through storms. Steadiness becomes your natural state, guiding you through every challenge ahead. Resilience reshapes your experience of hard times by shifting how you interpret difficulty. Instead of seeing challenges as evidence of weakness, you begin seeing them as opportunities to discover your strength. This shift changes your emotional posture. You stand with more presence and less fear. Fear loses its grip as awareness grows. Awareness becomes your guide through hardship. As resilience strengthens, you stop viewing obstacles as dead ends and start recognizing them as pathways to deeper understanding. Every challenge becomes a lesson, not a punishment. This perspective allows your mind to stay clearer, even when emotions feel heavy. Clear thinking helps you move forward with intention. Intention keeps you grounded. Groundedness reshapes your response to struggle. Resilience changes the way you carry emotional weight. Instead of letting pressure crush you, you learn to distribute it in a way that feels manageable. This ability reduces overwhelm and increases steadiness. Steady emotions give you the clarity needed to make better decisions. Better decisions lead to healthier outcomes. Healthier outcomes strengthen your resilience further. When resilience begins shaping your mindset, you stop fearing discomfort. Discomfort becomes a signal for growth rather than a threat. This new relationship with discomfort allows you to stay present with difficult emotions instead of running from them. Presence deepens emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence helps you navigate challenges with understanding rather than panic. Understanding transforms hardship. Resilience reshapes your inner dialogue. Instead of tearing yourself down during difficulty, you speak to yourself with encouragement and patience. This supportive inner voice becomes a stabilizing influence. Stabilization reduces inner chaos. With less chaos, your thoughts become more organized. Organized thoughts help you face hardship with a stronger mindset. That strength becomes lasting. As resilience grows, you stop reacting impulsively and begin responding thoughtfully. Thoughtful responses reduce regret and increase control. This sense of control helps you feel capable even in unpredictable situations. Capability strengthens your confidence. Confidence gives you the courage to keep moving. Movement keeps your resilience alive and expanding. Resilience reshapes your expectations of yourself. You no longer demand perfection. You value progress. Progress gives you the space to grow without the burden of unrealistic standards. This freedom reduces emotional pressure. With reduced pressure, your mind can function with more clarity. Clearer thinking supports you through difficult times. Clarity becomes a powerful form of resilience. When resilience becomes part of you, you begin seeing challenges through a wider lens. Instead of focusing solely on the pain of the moment, you recognize the long-term growth that hardship brings. This wider perspective softens fear. Softened fear allows you to stay steady. Steadiness helps you navigate difficulty with patience. Patience strengthens your ability to endure. Resilience reshapes your relationship with uncertainty. Instead of resisting the unknown, you learn to move through it with trust. Trust develops as you recognize your own history of survival. Survival gives you evidence of your strength. This evidence quiets your doubts. Quiet doubts allow your confidence to rise. Confidence supports resilience in the face of hardship. Hard times feel different when you possess resilience. You no longer see yourself as someone being defeated, but as someone being developed. This shift empowers you to stay engaged with life instead of shutting down. Engagement keeps you connected to your inner resources. These resources help you navigate stress with clarity. Clarity transforms struggle into growth. Resilience reshapes how you process setbacks. Instead of internalizing them as failures, you understand them as natural parts of progress. This understanding reduces self-blame. Reduced self-blame creates room for self-compassion. Compassion softens emotional intensity. Softness gives your mind space to recover. Recovery becomes more consistent and steady. As resilience forms, you learn to accept emotional waves without being pulled under by them. Acceptance helps you ride through the intensity instead of resisting it. Resistance amplifies pain, but acceptance reduces it. With reduced intensity, your mind finds stability more quickly. Stability keeps you grounded during difficulty. Groundedness shapes a clearer, calmer direction. Resilience reshapes your patience. You begin to understand that healing and growth happen in stages, not all at once. This understanding allows you to move slowly without feeling behind. Slow movement reduces overwhelm. Reduced overwhelm keeps your thoughts from spiraling. Thoughtful pacing strengthens your emotional core. A strong core supports you through hard times. Hardship looks different when resilience becomes part of your identity. You stop viewing challenges as unfair and start seeing them as part of your evolution. This mindset helps you embrace the process rather than fight it. Embracing the process creates emotional space. Emotional space helps you think with more clarity. Clarity supports stronger decision-making. Resilience reshapes how you handle pressure. Instead of collapsing under stress, you develop the ability to pause and breathe through it. This pause gives your nervous system room to settle. A settled mind thinks more clearly. Clear thinking reduces fear-driven choices. Reduced fear strengthens your responses during hardship. Strong responses become your new foundation. As resilience grows, you gain the ability to separate temporary emotions from long-term reality. Hard moments feel less defining. You see them as passing experiences rather than permanent truths. This clarity reduces emotional panic. Less panic creates room for stability. Stability supports your ability to stay calm during adversity. Calmness reinforces resilience. Resilience reshapes your sense of control. Instead of focusing on what you cannot change, you direct your energy toward what you can influence. This focus brings empowerment. Empowerment helps you face challenges with strength instead of helplessness. Strength influences your decisions. Healthy decisions ease the weight of hardship. Ease supports sustained resilience. Hard times become more manageable when resilience teaches you how to conserve your energy. You stop investing in thoughts that drain you and begin nurturing thoughts that strengthen you. This shift improves your emotional balance. Balanced emotions help you respond with clarity. Clarity gives hardship less power over your mind. Your mind becomes more grounded and resilient. Resilience reshapes how you see yourself. You begin recognizing qualities within you that hardship cannot break. Your adaptability, your endurance, your courage. These qualities become pillars of inner strength. As you lean on them, your confidence grows. Confidence helps you navigate difficulty with a sense of direction. Direction helps you stay steady even during intense challenges. Resilience transforms the way you face hard times by giving you the internal structure to remain grounded, aware, and intentional. You no longer collapse when life becomes heavy. You reorganize, breathe, and rise. This ability to rise shapes your identity into one that is steady, strong, and unshaken by adversity. Resilience becomes the lens through which you face every challenge ahead. Becoming the mind that comes back stronger begins with understanding how recovery shapes your inner world. Each experience that challenges you becomes part of your emotional history, teaching your mind how to rebuild with more wisdom than before. As you integrate these lessons, your resilience deepens. Deep resilience becomes a quiet foundation beneath your thoughts. This foundation supports strength that grows over time. Strength becomes your natural state. A mind that grows stronger learns to rise steadily instead of urgently. Urgency creates panic, but steadiness creates clarity. When you give yourself room to breathe during hardship, your thinking becomes more grounded. Grounded thoughts allow you to navigate difficulty with intention. Intentional movement strengthens your presence. Presence reinforces emotional resilience. Strengthened minds recognize that setbacks are not reflections of inadequacy. They are experiences that reveal where growth is possible. When you release harsh self-judgment, your inner world becomes more supportive. Supportive thinking creates stability. Stability helps you recover without collapsing into discouragement. Recovery becomes a balanced process. A mind that returns stronger builds trust with itself. Trust grows each time you endure something that once felt overwhelming. As this trust forms, you begin to rely on your ability to navigate uncertainty. This reliance brings calmness. Calmness keeps your emotions from spiraling during difficulty. A calmer inner state supports consistent resilience. Becoming stronger means learning to shift from resistance to acceptance. Resistance drains your inner energy, while acceptance frees it. When you accept the reality of a situation, your energy becomes available for meaningful action. Meaningful action strengthens your sense of direction. Direction keeps you aligned with growth. Growth builds inner strength. A stronger mind learns to interpret discomfort as a signal of progress. Instead of running from emotional intensity, you learn to sit with it. This sitting creates space for understanding to emerge. Understanding reduces fear. Fear loses power as awareness expands. Expanded awareness becomes the root of resilience. Your mind becomes stronger when you let go of perfection. Striving for flawless outcomes creates internal pressure that weakens your resilience. Letting go allows you to embrace progress instead. Progress reinforces confidence. Confidence supports healthier decision-making. Healthy decisions create long-term stability. Strength grows each time you choose reflection over reaction. Reflection gives you insight into your patterns and helps you respond from clarity rather than impulse. Clarity reduces emotional chaos. Reduced chaos strengthens your internal balance. Balance becomes a vital part of returning stronger. Balanced thoughts restore your grounding. A mind that comes back stronger understands the importance of emotional rest. Rest is not a retreat, it is a form of preparation. When you honor your need for restoration, your mind recovers more efficiently. Efficient recovery strengthens your emotional endurance. Endurance gives you the ability to rise again. Rising becomes a natural response. Inner strength develops when you trust your ability to adapt. Adaptation allows you to bend without breaking. As you adjust to changing circumstances, your mind becomes more flexible. Flexibility reduces stress and creates mental space for new solutions. These solutions guide you forward. Forward movement reinforces your resilience. Your mind grows stronger when you shift your focus from what is lost to what is learned. Loss may bring pain, but learning brings purpose. Purpose transforms difficulty into direction. Direction strengthens your confidence in your ability to keep going. Confidence expands your capacity to endure. Endurance supports continuous growth. A stronger mind learns to create peace from within. Instead of depending on perfect conditions, you learn to cultivate calmness internally. This self-created calm becomes a powerful tool during conflict or uncertainty. It keeps your thoughts steady. Steadiness helps you make grounded decisions. Grounded decisions strengthen your resilience. Strength builds when you stop defining yourself by temporary emotions. Your feelings may shift rapidly, but your identity remains much deeper. When you differentiate between emotion and truth, your mind becomes more stable. Stability reduces inner confusion. Reduced confusion supports clearer perspective. Clear perspective helps you come back stronger. A resilient mind develops patience during healing. Rush creates tension, But patience helps your thoughts settle. Settled thoughts leave room for clarity to emerge. Clarity guides your choices. Guided choices build emotional resilience. Resilience becomes the backbone of your recovery. Becoming stronger means learning to face uncertainty with openness. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin to trust your ability to navigate it. This trust reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety allows your inner strength to surface naturally. Natural strength becomes easier to access. Accessibility supports consistent resilience. Your mind strengthens each time you rise without needing external validation. When you rely on your own judgment, your confidence deepens. Deep confidence stabilizes your emotions. Stabilized emotions allow you to stay grounded during hardship. Grounding helps you grow through difficulty. Growth prepares you for the next challenge. A stronger mind understands that self-compassion is not weakness. Self-compassion creates the internal support needed for sustainable resilience. When you treat yourself with kindness, you recover without shame. Shame limits your strength, but compassion expands it. This expansion enriches your inner stability. Stability deepens your resilience. Strength grows through honesty. Honest reflection shows you what needs to change and what needs to be released. This truth-oriented mindset prevents you from repeating the same emotional patterns. As you break these cycles, your mind becomes lighter. A lighter mind moves with greater clarity. Clarity supports long-term resilience. Inner strength develops when you embrace your ability to rebuild. Rebuilding gives you a sense of direction, even when life feels uncertain. As you reconstruct your inner world with intention, your mental foundation becomes stronger than before. This foundation supports your emotional growth. Growth reinforces your belief in your resilience. Becoming the mind that comes back stronger every time is about learning, adapting, and rising with intention. Each challenge becomes part of your evolution, shaping you into someone more aware, more grounded, and more determined. You stop seeing hardship as an ending and begin seeing it as a turning point. Through this shift, your mind develops a strength that does not fade. It deepens with every experience you overcome. Resilience is not something you wait for. It is something you shape from the inside out. Through the lessons in this audiobook, you've explored how the mind adapts, rebuilds, and rises through adversity. You've seen how clarity grows in the middle of pressure, how stability forms through honesty, and how strength deepens each time you refuse to collapse under difficulty. As you move forward, carry this truth with you. Every challenge you face becomes material for your growth. Nothing you endure is wasted. Each experience strengthens the foundation you stand on and sharpens the perspective you live from. With every step, you are becoming a mind that does more than survive. You are becoming a mind that transforms, expands, and stands stronger every time. Your resilience is not a destination. It is a mindset you continue choosing, shaping, and strengthening as your life unfolds. And with this mindset, there is no challenge capable of breaking the person you are becoming.